Coming to you live from the Cowboys headquarters in Frisco. Deep in the heart of Texas, it's the Star at Night.
Wow, dramatic much?
Why are you getting in the way of my intro?
You mean our intro? We're your hosts. I'm Kelsey Charles.
And I'm David Hellman.
Okay, let's just start this show now.
What is up, party people? It brings me so much joy that you all get the opportunity to share in that cringeworthy opening.
There's nothing cringeworthy about it.
David Hellman.
It makes me smile every time we do this show.
Smile, cringe, I think they're all the same thing at this point.
I feel fine. Hi.
Hello.
Nice
How
to
are
see
you?
you.
I know. I haven't seen
I don't think
him.
I've
I haven't seen
since
you.
the last time we did this show.
Yeah, I am knee deep in finishing grad school, amongst other things. So I'm actually excited to take a break from the books. Well, I do have a book here still. It's fine.
I was going to say, so you're finishing up homework, and the Cowboys finally finished up their homework from the 2022 NFL Draft.
It's all great timing.
Would you like to talk about it?
I think I would. I'd love to get your thoughts. I mean, I know you have just been totally enveloped with the draft coverage for the last, dare I say 6 months, but especially the past 10 days. So I need to get your assessment on how they did. I think we all know going into this what the needs were, and it looks like on paper the Cowboys did indeed address them, at least by selecting those specific position groups. But I want to dive in and get your thoughts on the caliber of individual they brought in the building. So let's start with their first round pick, shall we?
Yes, I think we shall. Oh, look at that big guy by the name of Tyler Smith. I mean, look, we're going to go through a lot of these guys, and the thing that I come away with is that they're all enormous.
Yes.
Like 6'5", 324 pounds.
That's a big boy.
God. It's funny because, you said the needs were addressed, and I think that was the Cowboys' priority in this draft. It's not to say Tyler Smith is a reach. I don't agree with that, just based on, again, like when you dive into who this guy is as a player, he's young. He is a young player. He just turned 21. Again, the size, the athleticism to play tackle. I know, right? Like, remember 21?
Barely.
Remember 21, which is, the guy won me over at his press conference because I was like, I was rolling out of bed to work in a chicken wing restaurant at 21. Like, I did not have anything together at 21. This is a potential pick right here. Like, the potential is sky high with Tyler Smith. I think they hope that he can come in and be an effective guard right away. But when you hear the front office saying that he could be a long-term answer at left tackle, well, you know that they're already thinking several years down the line. I think this is a little bit less of a sure thing than what we've gotten used to with guys like CD and Micah.
Sure.
But I'm not willing to write the guy off at all based on what I've learned about him. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Quick question, though. I'd like to know if you think this is a bit of the Terrence Steele effect where this front office has become confident in their ability to identify potential talent.
Yes.
Again, I don't think that most individuals had him graded in a first round. Cowboys took him, again, later first round still. But do you think that that's where their head's at in terms of we've done it before, we could easily do it again?
Absolutely. And then you get into the draft semantic weeds. I think the Cowboys had a high second-round grade on Tyler Smith. But when you're picking 24th in a draft that most people agree only had 14 to 15 first-round players, that's what you're working with. Like, there aren't 32 first-round grades on an NFL draft board. So by the time you get to 24, you're trying to make the best pick among a handful of guys that have flaws. That is what the Cowboys are banking on, is that he has the highest upside of several flawed options. And to the point of the people that criticize this pick, Tyler Linderbaum, Devin Lloyd, Jermaine Johnson all go off the board right after him. It's going to be very easy for us to identify who was correct about this. But Cowboys found Travis Frederick. They found Zach Martin. I'd trust their track record.
All right, well, let's talk about track record in terms of defensive end because, well, we've got another one in the building from, look, your favorite school. Dave, big fan here, right? Sam Williams going to address some of the areas, again, of need for this team with the departure of, like, Randy Gregory and just, maybe having to have some reinforcements against this D-line.
It's funny that you mentioned Randy because from a talent standpoint, Sam Williams is incredibly rare. I mean, this guy is one of the better edge rushers in this draft class. You can go watch him. The fun thing about him playing at Ole Miss, which, maybe not my favorite school, but when you're in the SEC West, you play schools like Bama and Mississippi State. So there's tape of this guy going against Evan Neal and Charles Cross, who we're going to talk about later in this draft. The better tackle prospects. He holds his own. The guy set an SEC single-season sack record. That's not easy to do. The talent is there. I think some of his off-field concerns are why he winds up in a place like 56, and this is what the Cowboys like to do. They like to bank on a talented but imperfect prospect. They've done it before,
Really
and
elegant way of saying it.
they're not afraid to do it again. And if they're right, I think this could be a home run pick. They just need to be right.
All right, well, let's go ahead and see if this next one, in your opinion, is going to be a home run. Because, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record here. Addressing a need at a position where we did lose depth this past year. And dare I say, oh, yeah, actually a starter. So Jalen Tolbert out of South Alabama, Jaguars. That's my high school mascot, so I think I automatically have to like him.
Is that the Jaguars in
Kansas.
Kansas?
Oh, I'm sorry. High schools have like a rotation of 10 different types of mascots, and that's it. And Jaguars is definitely one of them.
My high school was the Blue Jays, which can be found everywhere.
That sounds very lame.
No, he had he put his dukes up. It was kind of like a Fighting Irish kind of thing. It was
Sure.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Look, far be it from me to accuse the Cowboys front office of misleading us, but they said they didn't have any musts in this draft, and then 1, 2, 3 in a row, they replaced the position that lost Connor Williams and Lyle Collins, the position that lost Randy Gregory, and they wrap it up by addressing the position that lost Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson.
Right.
So it kind of seems like you had some musts, in my opinion. Fortunately, of the 3 picks we just talked about, I think Jalen Tolbert is the most ready-made player of all of them, honestly.
Love to hear that.
I think they considered him at 56. I think it would have been a good pick at 56. He's an incredible route runner. He's got inside-outside versatility, which
Like Cedric?
we know that they love. A little bit of Cedric to his game. He's also a deep threat guy. Like, he can go and get the big chunk plays. Of all of these guys, I feel the surest about what he can contribute as a rookie. I'm really excited about it.
Day one starter? How confident are we talking here?
100%. Michael Gallup's not going to be ready for the start of the year, most likely. This
All
guy's
right.
going to be in the starting lineup.
Jalen, let's go,
Come
my
on
guy.
down, buddy.
Come on down. All right, well, we all knew that we had a handful of day 3 draft picks. This is the true value play. We knew guys like a tight end might be in the mix. That was a conversation piece. Got some linebackers, some more depth, but I want to really get your thoughts, Dave, on what are the names that are standing out in this list to you and you're most excited about?
My big thing when I talk about the draft is trust the tape. Matt Willetsko, though, I'm so intrigued
Great
by this
name.
guy. The North Dakota offensive tackle, the Cowboys don't draft a lot of FCS guys. They just haven't done it in the past. This dude measured in with his relative athletic score as the 12th most athletic tackle since 1987. The measurables are freakish.
Wow.
And so I'm not saying he's going to be an all-pro, but you take that. He's 6'8", 312, by the way. The man is enormous. When you take the size and athleticism and the fact that he doesn't need to play right away because there are tackles already on this roster, sign me up. I am so excited. And I'll be very honest, I had never heard of this guy until Saturday afternoon. And the minute I started reading, I was like, I like that. I like that a lot.
Oh, my goodness.
And then, if we want to talk, do you want to throw it to me for that blatant LSU homerism, or how do you want to do that?
I was going to prepare to allow you to be a homer, so now's your time. Please go ahead.
Damone! Let's go!
Your sons!
He's such a good player. It's so unfortunate that he had to have spinal surgery in the offseason.
Was it like a fusion?
He had a neck fusion, which is a similar surgery to what Leighton Vander Esch has had. I don't know what that means for his future, but he would have been a top 100 pick without it. And in the 5th round, I'm so down to bank on that talent if he can come back. He's a high character guy. He's a leader. He's a football guy. He had 135 tackles. I could just gush for days and days. He's not going to be ready for the start of the year, and that's okay. Because hopefully he'll be balling for 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years after that. He's a
Fingers
stud.
crossed.
He's a stud.
All right, this is your last call for anyone else. We need to make sure we are just diving into a little bit more. Because again, these are names that people probably weren't considering as much. The first 1, 2, 3, you're all in, right? But
How
these
about
guys,
99% of prospects that I talk to on draft day are I'm gonna come in and work hard and find my place. John Ridgway out of Arkansas gets on the phone and he's like, I'm here to kick ass and take names, bro.
I saw that.
He is
phenomenal.
Amazing. Like, he's a journalist's best friend. Like, this is incredible. I almost said something way more inappropriate than that.
You were going.
He's like 6'5", 330 pounds, and he can help them in the run game, and the dude clearly has an attitude, which you want in a defensive tackle. Again, this is another guy I didn't really know a ton about on Saturday morning, and by Saturday afternoon, I was like calling the hogs. I was like, woo, let's go.
Woo pig, baby. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up because you know what? We're actually not done talking about our draft picks. We've got a expert coming to join us in-house, Duke Manyweather, up next.
Our next guest needs no introduction, but he's usually on a laptop screen or a Zoom call. After 2 years, Duke Manyweather.
2 years.
So excited to have you in the studio, my guy. Offensive line coach, developer, OL mastermind extraordinaire, if you will, man. We're so happy to have you in the studio.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like you guys have said, it's been 2 years. You know, during the pandemic, everything ended up being virtual. I think for 2 drafts, the 2020 draft and the 2021 draft, and then the follow-ups during the season. So being in-house, nothing like it. Feel right at home.
What better time to have you on than the week after this year's draft? A very O-line heavy draft at the top. Cowboys came away with Tyler Smith at pick 24. But also, you talk about the O-line talent at the top of this thing, whether it was Ike Ekwonu, Evan Neal, Trevor Penning. Oh, by the way, you worked with all of these guys. So I just wanted to pick your brain on how you thought the draft went. We can get into Tyler Smith in a minute, but overall, maybe some of the landing spots for these guys, maybe some of the situations you're really excited about for some of your prospects.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you take a look at the 2022 draft, we knew it was going to be very top-heavy in terms of who the top 4 tackles were. I think with Evan Neal and then Ike, Charles Cross, and Trevor Penning, all those guys possess something special that, you know, depending on what type of team, what type of offense you ran, that you liked. You know, when you look at a guy like Ike, he's an elite run blocker. It pops out on tape, physical, finishes extremely well, and you fall in love with his physicality and just the consistency in his run blocking. I think Ike was probably, his run blocking was probably better than anybody else's pass blocking and run blocking combined in that regard.
Okay.
So Carolina got a really good player in Ike. When you look at Evan Neal gives you the best of both worlds. He's got 3 years of tape at 3 different positions at Alabama, dominant tape, played left tackle, right tackle, and he has played left guard, but really consistent as a pass blocker and a run blocker as well. So when you see him and how he plugs into the Giants offense, we'll probably plug in right at right tackle and give them a pair of tackles that are really good, up and coming, young tandem. They are probably going to be around for a while. Charles Cross, I think, great fit in Seattle. Great fit in Seattle. They're still going to do some things where you need mobile offensive linemen up in Seattle. I think that they show that the offensive line is important for them taking the top 10 pick at offensive tackle, which I don't remember them doing in recent years. So that was key that they did that, you know. So I think Charles Cross is probably the best pass protector in this draft with elite recovery skills. And so you got to believe that Seattle is excited to get him to kind of man that left side of the offensive line. When you look at Trevor Penning was probably the guy that a year ago a lot of people didn't know about. Small school gym from northern Iowa. The aggressiveness sticks out on tape, the way he's able to finish. He's got some technique things that he needs to clean up. But the feet is there, the length is there, the athleticism is there, the demeanor is there. You don't want to have to get guys up and going. You don't mind being able to have to dial him back with his aggressiveness. But the Saints took him. They need to replace Teron Armstead. So, you know, I just think that those top guys ended up in great situations at the top. And then, of course, with Dallas coming away with Tyler Smith, which gives them some position flexibility in year 1.
So I actually want to talk about Tyler Smith for a minute because obviously the Cowboys took him at 24. They did a pretty good job of filling their needs on paper, at least. But there is a lot of talk about where Tyler is developmentally. And I wanted to get your expert opinion on this because, you know, a lot of people are calling him the potential future replacement at left tackle. And then he's played tackle before. He actually converted over from D-line in high school, right? And then they said, well, maybe we'll move him inside at guard right now. And then eventually kick him back out again. So I guess my question for you is two things. What do you see in terms of upside for him? How much confidence do you have in his abilities? And then also, do you feel like having the Tyron Smith pairing, at least in the interim right now, is going to be good for him? Because again, concerns about penalties in previous years was an issue. Well, we're kind of hearing that's going to be a thing right now too. So talk to me about that dynamic and what you see as a lay of the land there.
Absolutely. You got to believe when you bring in a Tyler Smith into the building that you immediately project him as being the left guard of now and then eventually maybe the left tackle of the future. Some of the things that he possesses, though, in terms of physical traits, athleticism, aggressiveness, overall power at the point of attack, and his demeanor as well is extremely exciting, to be honest with you. You see the potential, you see the upside, but with that upside and with that potential, in order for it to be realized into being a consistent player on Sundays with the ability to be at left guard and then kick out to left tackle, there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up, specifically the efficiency of the footwork and then just being able to rework and re-leverage the hands. Those are going to be two areas of improvement that Tyler Smith is going to have to be able to continue to develop and hone in on. And it's one of those things where it can make and break your career if you don't focus on those two things, because the game moves so fast. And if your feet aren't efficient enough to allow your hands to be effective, then that's where the penalties come in. So those are two areas that are really going to have to clean up. It's going to start from the ground up, you know, maybe reworking the stance a little bit, and then talk about the efficiency of the footwork, where the hips need to end up in the run game and in pass protection. From that point, your feet will put you in those positions to be able to effectively use the hands. Then the posture comes. So just the holistic ground up approach is going to be what Tyler Smith needs to be able to realize that potential and turn those physical gifts and physical traits into critical factors and tools for the game at offensive line.
I think that the outside narrative, at least from dummies like me, is like if you're lacking athletically or fundamentally, you kick inside the guard at the pro level because it's quote unquote easier, which I understand how silly that sounds. Yeah. So I'm curious, from somebody that knows, of course, like there is no easy position in the NFL. What is the biggest challenge when it comes to transitioning from tackle to guard?
Really, just what you said. When you kick inside to guard, everything happens quicker, okay? You don't have that range, you don't have that length, you don't have that space that kind of can work into your favor if your set points and things are on point in terms of your pass protection and pass set. When you move into guard, it is happening right now. You got a 3 technique, you got a 4-eye, you got a head up shade, you got an inside shade that is coming right now. You know, you're playing against bigger guys, more power a lot of times. So you have to be really efficient with your feet, and you really have to be violent with your hands, but also you have to be strategic with your hands, all right? So those are going to be the things that really need to be focused in on, making that transition from the edge to the inside. You know, just again, much like we said in terms of the areas that he needs to improve on, the areas that Smith needs to improve on ring true for whether he's playing on the edge or on the interior offensive line.
I actually want to ask you a follow-up in terms of that position flex, because I think there's two different schools of thought out there, and I'm interested to see which one you fall within. There's the master of none type, where you are just okay at several things, and people view this as a negative. But then there's the other folks that say, hey, listen, if you can play both, like we view that as a massive upside, right? Not everyone is a Zach Martin of the world who can go do everything at the top level, right? Like we get that's an anomaly. So are you of the opinion that if you can do more, that's going to be a positive for you? Or do you feel like I'd rather you specialize? Because again, people underestimate how important each of these positions are on the O-line, and especially working together.
So I always bring my guys up when there's certain coaching cues or certain idioms or coach speak, so to speak, that they end up throwing out, and I call it myth busters. Like, all right, myth busters time. So one of those is, the more you can do. Now, the more you can do will keep you on an NFL roster. But the fact of the matter is, when you look around the league, it's very much so few and far between of guys that can go from position to position and play it at a really, really effective and high level. Off the top of my head, Zach Martin is one of those guys that can kind of bounce around and do it at a high level. Elton Jenkins from the Green Bay Packers is one of those guys that can do it at a high level. But outside of that, there's not many guys that you can move like chess pieces and expect to get the same type of production. Furthermore, and I think we saw this with the Cowboys last year, continuity is very, very much so an intricate part of offensive line play as a unit. It's 5 guys as one. It's 5 sets of eyes, 10 eyes that are all focused on kind of the same thing, seeing things through the same lens. With that comes communication. And not always verbal communication, but just understanding the timing and kind of some of the sounds that the guy next to you makes that kind of gives you a signal of what needs to happen next, whether that's picking up line games, whether that's, passing off a stunt, seeing a blitz, being a little heavier on a combo block. Playing with the guy next to you takes continuity. And when you're moving those pieces around for the sake of it, a lot of times that continuity gets broke. And that's why you end up seeing, offensive line play dip in some instances.
Not directing this at anyone in particular. I'm just saying Duke lives in the DFW area. He works right across the street. Just seems like a valuable resource for an NFL team to me. I don't know. Again, that's not directed at anybody.
If P, then Q.
Duke, it was so good to finally have you in studio, man. Trust me, we'll have you back. You don't even have to worry about it. Cowboys have addressed a lot of their needs in this year's draft class, but we're going to take a look when we come back. Maybe they've got more work to do. Stay with us.
All right, so you now officially have the lay of the land. We're going to tie a bow on this draft season because I need to know the current status of what this Cowboys team still needs. Dave, you've got OTAs and minicamp starting up. Like, off-season programming is about to be in full swing. So lay it on me thick. What does this man have to do to get this team ready for day one of NFL football season?
I'm already getting anxiety about how close training camp is, to be honest with you.
Happens quick.
It's funny because even with everything we've said on this show about Tyler Smith and how much we like Matt Waletzko, offensive line and specifically offensive tackle still strike me as a place where I don't feel great. Josh Ball didn't play last year. Waletzko and Tyler are rookies. Tyron Smith has missed time due to injury for 6 years running at this point. But Jerry and Stephen Jones already came out and said, this is it. We're not adding any veterans, which I think is interesting. Maybe we'll see. We'll see how training camp goes. That's when I say it in that tone of voice. It's like, I think that's wrong, but it's your team, so you do whatever you want. We'll see how it works out at training camp. I think another spot, maybe if they're really not going to add an offensive lineman, I wonder about linebacker. Because again, we talked about Damone Clark on this show. He's not going to be ready for a while. He won't be a part of training camp. Micah Parsons, you have Micah, obviously. We don't know for sure what we have in Jabril Cox. We feel really good about it, but kind of an unknown. And Leighton Vander Esch is a guy, A, on a one-year deal, and B, he's dealt with injuries of his own. You have Luke Gifford, and they did just draft Devin Harper. I wonder, I don't feel amazing about the depth at that spot right now, just based on what they did in the draft. So those are the two things for me that kind of stand out.
All right, well, you heard it from us here first. We checked the box on a lot of things, okay? You got a lot to feel good about. Again, at least on paper. Still some unknowns.
How is it already time for OTAs?
I don't know.
How, I've been so focused on the draft this whole time, and now I'm just like, oh no, it's about to be time to go back to work.
Yeah, buckle up, kids, because we're getting time.
Yay!
Ready for NFL football season? That countdown, let's go ahead and start it now.
Got the schedule next week. Let's do it.
Thanks, guys, for joining us. We'll see you all next time. This is Start Night.